What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. This week, we talked to a good buddy of mine, Steve Cantwell, and he told us the almost unbelievable story of his near-death experience living in the Alaskan wilderness. He also told us about a serial killer that he went into business with. He told us about bears, having to escape bears and protect his family from just the craziness of living in what he called the willy wags of Alaska. And of course, we also heard about Safe Robert. This guy has the craziest stories of anyone I've ever met in my entire life. And he is back with us tonight for a live stream. Steve Cantwell, what's going on, dude?
Davey Jackson, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I can't wait to get into this because I have so many questions. And the episode that went live on Wednesday, it was clear that a lot of people watching the video had questions too. Some people were so confused, like which part of his story was real and which part was, his near-death experience, the trip, right? I mean, there were people getting confused in the comments. Okay. Justifiably so, because it's that insane. It's wild.
Yeah, well, it's a complicated story.
It really is. But we're going to answer some questions tonight. I've got some questions. I know some of the audience has questions. I wanted to say hello to everyone in the live chat. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We're going to get right into it. But before I do, if you've got questions for Steve, if you've got comments, please feel free to send those over. If you want, well, let me just say this. Super chats are absolutely welcome. Certainly appreciate them. Not required. However, if you want your question guaranteed answer, send it with a super chat and we will absolutely get to it. So let me put this little banner at the bottom of our live stream so that folks can send in their questions. Steve, okay, my first question, very first one. Are you still married to your Inuit or Eskimo wife?
So she was white. She was one of the only two white girls in this Eskimo village. Her dad was like the chief of police, and they'd moved up there from Minnesota. So she'd been there for like 4 years and was ready to get the fuck out.
I gotcha.
But no, to answer your question, I am not still married to that tricky minx. She has escaped. She divorced me 14 years ago when we were in Hawaii. She left me for a Eskimo guy that she had gone to high school with, and he left his wife, and they, with all my money, moved to the part of Ohio where they talk that they basically have telethons for, a place where they close down the steel mill and all that. They close the factory down, and everybody's turning tricks and parking lots of truck stops. So, they lived there because you could live forever on that much money. So yeah, that was it. She left me with $68 in change and an old sailboat.
That's all you had after she cleared you out?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then ran off with this dude from the Eskimo village?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you were living in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Zero. I mean, you had enough money to retire.
Yeah.
Never had to work again. And she still decided to run off with this other dude.
She got me, because remember, we were Mormons and we had never had sex with anybody but each other. So she got me hypnotized by, like, she would go down to the Waikiki beach and hit up tourist girls and be like, hey, me and my husband have a sailboat. You want to go out, show your titties on a sailboat? And she would basically get girls to come out on this sailboat and fuck us.
What?
And so we would have like
these orgies.
Well, not orgies because I was the only guy there, but we would have sometimes 2 or 3 other girls on the sailboat with us, and we just go off, drop the anchor, and fuck on the sailboat. So kids can't come bother you, just.
So you'd leave your kids on the other sailboat.
Yeah,
because you had 2 of them. So one was the kid boat, one was the adult boat.
So the kids didn't see the adventure in it that I did. So I had to actually rent a big apartment that was right in the building that was overlooked the boat harbor.
Oh,
So the kids had like a cool, dope apartment that was right on the boat harbor while I was just hemorrhaging money, wife sneaking shit or being sneaky as shit on the down low.
yeah.
And she, to keep me satisfied, she would just basically bring tourist girls, 25-year-old tourist girls, down to the boat, and she'd get us fucking, and she'd fuck them, and then she would just like leave for a while, and I guess go fuck some other people. I didn't know that at the time, but
You didn't know that part was going on.
I didn't care. I was completely
Whoa.
my mind was blown. I was 40 years old, fucking for the
Experiencing your
first time.
sexual revolution, essentially.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
She really did. She really did get you good on
She,
that. Yeah.
yes,
She
she outsmarted me.
she
She
did.
came in out of the sun like a Japanese zero. I had no chance of seeing that coming. It was just like,
There was no way you could have prepared for that.
no.
For anyone that's joining this live stream that has not seen Steve's original episode about his near-death experience and how that essentially turned him from a Mormon into an atheist. Steve, you grew up in Utah, devout Mormon, 7th-generation believer in Mormonism, ended up
Yeah.
moving out to Florida. Well, before you moved to Florida, you went up to Alaska, married your Eskimo village wife, who this whole time I thought she was actually like Inuit, but she was white.
So did my dad.
So did your dad. She was a 10 in the Eskimo village, solid 4
Solid
back on the
4.
mainland.
Yeah.
Y'all moved away to Florida, started a janitorial business. At some point, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. You nearly died when some professional safe robbers duct taped you to a floor.
Yeah.
And they were going to shoot you and leave you in a walk-in freezer, as they had been doing to numerous other restaurants in the area. But right after that, you went into business. You sold half your business to a serial killer.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. Ended up turning him into the authorities ultimately.
Yeah.
And, basically to protect yourself and your family in case him or his buddies decided to come after you for snitching, you moved back to Alaska, not the Eskimo village, but out in the forest of Alaska, built a house out there. And the true near-death experience that we talked about was you experimented with salvia, and you went on a trip that in the real world, well, quote unquote real world, lasted maybe 90 seconds. We don't know exactly how long.
Right.
But you were only tripping for about 90 seconds, but you lived 8 years worth of, I don't know, simulation, alternate universe life in Tyler, Texas.
Right. And
When
it could be a different channel in the simulation.
Sure.
It could be a different lifetime. It could be
Maybe
a different universe. It could be
Yeah.
a figment of my imagination. Maybe something happens to your imagination when you get hit on the head with salvia. So who the fuck knows? But it felt as real as this, which is
Yeah.
the mind fuck for me.
And you spent 8 years in that universe before you came back to your current reality, let's call it. Abandoned the Mormon faith.
Yeah.
And then moved out to Hawaii, sold everything that you owned, moved to Hawaii, and lived there with your wife and your kids for how long before she left you?
6 months. 6 crazy months.
6 months, dude. You only got 6 months.
I don't care, man. It was the best 6 months of my fucking life.
Hey, that's all that.
For 6 months.
As long as you had a good time, Steve.
Yes.
That's all that matters. Okay, I want to backtrack in the story a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go back to the safe robbers.
Okay.
Did they ever catch these guys?
Not to my knowledge, they never did. They never solved. Now, I was only there for another year.
Okay.
Afterwards, and it's not like the internet was very poor at that time, so it's not like you could just stay on top of it somehow like you could maybe now and just. So I never really followed up with it. Now, it would be interesting somewhere in the internet, because this is what we're doing is eternal. Will be recorded someplace. Somebody somewhere. Here's what you would need to look for the police report. So it happened on New Year's Eve in
Okay.
Winter Park, Florida, at a popular eatery called the Briar Patch.
The Briar
And
Patch.
and it was about 1993, 94, something like
Okay.
that. Somebody ought to be able to find it from that.
Oh, I'm sure anyone could Google that and locate it in 10 minutes. No problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they never caught these guys, but they did catch the serial killer that you went into business with that had murdered who knows how many people.
Who's to know what to believe from him? He said it was 60 something. But
60 something people?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he told you dozens of these stories, right?
Yep. There was no physical evidence for any of them. And so they went and tore up. He owned this property out in buttfuck Florida, out where nobody lives. He owned like 5 acres out there. And the police went out there with cadaver dogs and fucking bulldozers and shit like that, and they didn't find shit. So
wow.
I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Who knows how much of that was true? The thing about him drowning the lady in the river in Panama, that turned out to be true, and that's probably the most outlandish one that he told. Oh, here's one that he told me that was not true. So he told me he killed our employee named Troy.
One of the Haitian guys?
No, a white kid that was trying to shake us down, saying that he fell off the equipment and broke his back when he didn't. He was just trying to scam us, and he picked the wrong motherfucker. So he started calling and trying to and threatening John, saying he was going to come shoot up his house and shit like that if he didn't get a settlement for his back. And John told me, he says, I just told him, okay, I'll meet you here, and so I can get my hands on like $3,000. Will that be enough to make you go away? He met with him. They sat on the back of his tailgate. He leaned over, shot him in the chest with a pistol, leaned him back in the truck, rolled him up in a tarp, and then drove him out and put him through a wood chipper at his house. Now and then he told me this while we were standing out in the middle of nowhere at his house where he has just freshly dug something. Now this is after he has told me that he killed his mother-in-law. So I think he is telling me this because he's going to see if I leak. So he tells me some bullshit story.
See if he needs to kill you. Yeah.
Yeah. So if the cops show up and dig up this place where he's been burying his trash and they don't find anything, then he knows he's got a problem with me because I'm out there telling stories. But he didn't tell me enough details about the mother-in-law thing for him to even think that I would even know where that was. He didn't tell me what city it was. He didn't tell me anything.
That one the police were able to verify, though, right? I mean, that's the
one he got convicted for. Yeah, because he told me every detail of how he killed her, stuff that was not in the newspaper, and told me about watching and waiting for her to be found and watching her son find her, and nobody would have known that.
Unreal, dude.
Yeah.
And the other one you said that was a girl in Panama?
There was a lady in Panama that he was down there playing war games when he was in the military. Mm-hmm. There's a training exercise with the Panamanian armed forces. So it was like red team versus blue team out in the jungle. Red team, you evade blue team at all costs, So they all go gear up and hide down in the ditch banks and hide from each other for a few days. And he was hiding down there with a bunch of Panamanian dudes that were all playing Army the same weekend. And a lady came down and wasn't expecting to see a platoon of Army guys down at the ditch bank, and so she screamed, and he just, without thinking, just pulled her down and drowned her in the river and killed her.
And he didn't get turned in at that point for it?
They got in a lot of trouble. Yeah, he got kicked out of the military. He got kicked out of the Army, and then he joined the Navy. So basically, they just were like, you can't be in the National Guard or whatever the fuck you're in, anymore because you did this, and that's bad.
So he just switched branches, and they were like, we're cool with it. That's fine.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
What?
And they made it go away with, they gave her family's her family a bunch of money, and then that was basically no suit there, and they just swept it up. I guess there's a whole fucking machine that sweeps up when one of our guys
So
does
this guy
something
has
that.
like a history of murdering people,
Yeah.
going all the way back to
Yep.
his time in the military. And then
Yeah.
he told you that he was killing homeless people,
Yep.
Tried to kill his business partner, killed his
Yep.
mother-in-law, told you
Yep.
he killed an employee, but that one turned out not to be true. What
To
actually
be a
happened to the
trick.
kid?
So he must have, I don't know what the fuck he did to this kid, but this kid disappeared. Like I couldn't find him for 20 years of looking, this kid. And then he turned up, and then I just like there was a film company that was making a documentary series about this, and they had a real serious team of professional researchers. So
Mhm.
they actually found a mugshot of him, like a few years ago, and he's all methed out and shit like that. But so that kid has just maybe got the shit kicked out of him and got scared real bad, maybe, and just scared enough to hide for 20 years. I don't know what the fuck he
Yeah.
told him,
Yeah.
but he definitely killed his mother-in-law. And then since he has been in prison, initially he got sentenced to kind of an okay maximum security prison. They had like a program where they train seeing eye dogs and shit like that. So it
Was
didn't
it a
feel like
life
a fucking.
sentence? Did he get a life sentence?
He got a life sentence, yeah.
Okay.
But he could put up for parole, right?
Sure.
Because life sentence isn't a life sentence in Ohio.
Right.
So life sentence means at 20 you can start, filing for appeals. So I stay in touch with the prosecutor. Now, the prosecutor in this case went on to be the lieutenant governor for the state of Ohio. I've stayed in contact with him all these years. In fact, he talks about this case sometimes on his campaign videos. It gets a few of the details wrong, but I can't fault him for that because he's like put thousands of these guys away,
Right.
But so I was always worried about him getting out on appeal and worrying about whether I needed to write a letter every time. It's like every 6 years or something like that. And then the documentary film crew, they told me he did something. You don't have to worry about that anymore. He did something really bad in prison, so he's never
never
getting
coming
out.
out. So you're
And
safe.
they transferred him to a fuckhole. They transferred him to like a Gladiator Academy fuckhole, like something that like a film that like you see, because it's so bad. It's called the Ross Correctional Facility, and they've made documentaries about just what a shank town this is. And
Whoa, dude.
yeah, guys getting high on their own jinkum, and like and tricking other guys out and taking guys and like hiding them under their
God,
bunk and rancing them to their it's just like fucking, it's a prison planet. And they sent him there because he did something. They never told me what it was. They wanted to tell me on camera, and then negotiations broke down between us and them. So
Did they ever make the documentary?
No, it stalled
Never made
because
it.
they wanted to own my story, basically. So if I took their money and did their shooting schedule, and then they had me they were offering me, like, it was basically 2 years. I had to go do publicity anytime that they asked
Yeah.
for. They gave me 1% of the gross, which was a fucking arm twist to get that in the first place, but not that much money, like used pickup truck money
Yeah.
for an initial thing. But then they would have owned my stories. Now I would have. My problem was not the money. Because if any amount of attention for that would be good for my stand-up career.
Sure.
But I can't have them owning my fucking stories.
No, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, then anytime you want to tell the story, you got to get permission.
Yep.
I'm assuming you can tell it like public square, like on stages and that sort of thing. But if anyone's making money off of it in any way,
yeah, like
they have to get paid.
they needed to be notified anytime that I did a podcast, for instance, and
Oh,
they would want
ridiculous.
to. Yeah, and who knows if they're going to try to shake you down for something like that.
Yeah.
Also, they can tell it any way that they want to, and you're not allowed to contradict them. So they could decide it's more dramatic if they twist it so that it looks like maybe I killed her. So then I got to fight that my whole fucking life, because it's a story that I tell, and I'm not going to spend my whole life like the fucking Tiger King, answer and trying to basically calm everybody down from the over dramatized version or whatever that they made of the story. So it wasn't so. It's still they still talk about it. They still talk to my agent as recently as 6 months ago, but nothing's happened.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad you can still tell the story. That was the other thing. So one of the things that I've wondered, and I have heard it verified. The story has been verified, but I wanted you to talk about how, if you're comfortable talking about it, how people could look this story up, learn more about it, because obviously they never released a
Yeah.
documentary. But can you share
So
anything so that someone could go search this and look this guy up?
yeah, so here's what you search on Google for all this, because all this happened. It was in the newspaper, it was on TV, all that shit. It happened in Cincinnati. So the paper of record for Cincinnati is, I believe, it's the Cincinnati Inquirer. I'm
Okay.
not sure about that, but basically, just type in Cincinnati. My name, Steve Cantwell. The guy that is the murderer, his name was Jonathan, Jonathan Hirsch, Hirsch, and the woman that he killed is named Carolyn Jones.
There you go.
And
Look that up.
you can look at the whole the best, most detailed version of the story is, of course, the few days that I spent on the witness stand,
Oh my
going over
God.
every possible, and my memory was a lot clearer then than it was. But there's also, if people are going to look in that shit up, there's also got to be tons of video footage of it, because there
Oh,
was
I'm sure.
cameras in the courtroom the whole time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, you can go and verify this story yourself, because that's one of the things that came up
Yeah,
right after. It was just like, how do we
yeah,
see if this is a true story? Well, now you know. Look
that's
up
how.
Steve Cantwell, Jonathan Hirsch, Cincinnati, Ohio, and you're in for a roller coaster ride on that one.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
nut. I'm never too sure if you're comfortable sharing the names associated with this story, but I mean, obviously, since he's gone forever, never
Yep,
coming out, you don't really have to
yep.
worry about that anymore, right?
I mean, he could escape, but that
Sure,
doesn't seem very likely. He's kind of an old man now,
that's
so
that's true. But
he's
I
been in
mean,
there for so long. He's been in there for
I'm sure
Christ,
he's got a
man.
major chip on his shoulder. Have you ever thought about like going to the prison and visiting him?
So they were going to film that as part of the series.
Really?
They had it set up. They were gonna interview him through glass at the Supermax place. First time we've talked since the murder trial.
Wow.
But
Oh, that would be just such a mind fuck.
it'd be good, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Okay. We'll talk more about the serial killer stuff,
Okay.
obviously. Because I know there's gonna be some folks that have other questions about it. But I wanted to talk about what I'm calling the near-death experience, or the salvia trip, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So while you were in Tyler, Texas, was there anything that you saw that you could go back and verify, like, yes, these are real places or real things or real people in Tyler, Texas?
I, of course, tried all that. Now, when I found myself in Tyler, it was a blank spot in the map for mentally. I'd never been to Tyler. I'd never been to Texas.
Yeah.
So I had no, but I had a because I was there for so long, I knew every fucking street, and it was a tiny fucking town in my salvia trip. Now, of
Hmm.
course, I went and tried to verify all that. None of that is
None of it.
the case. It's like 10 times the size it was in
Huh.
my thing. They don't grow apples there. They
No,
grow
there's no orchard in
roses.
Tyler.
No, no. And there's no they don't. I worked at a mink ranch while I was there for a while. Helped my friend at a mink ranch. They don't do mink in Tyler. So it's just like every detail that I looked at was completely unverified. There was no record of me. And I had looked at newspaper accounts. The newspaper, by the way, was called something else. And when I was in Tyler, I could see in their newspaper morgue files about my family dying in a car accident, but that same article did not exist once I was, because you can imagine I was quite obsessed with this for a few years,
Oh, I
like
can't even,
trying to
like,
figure
dude,
out what the fuck happened to me.
I would be losing my mind trying to figure this
Yeah,
out. I mean,
I went to Smithfield, the place that I was born and raised. I took a few days vacation and borrowed my friend's car and drove to Smithfield from Tyler, just to poke around the graveyard and shit like that, and just speak. And my hometown looked completely different.
Huh.
Completely different.
That's so wild. You mentioned like looking through a yearbook. Was the yearbook in the high school was that the same in Tyler, or was it just like a totally different school?
Totally different school.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just
But
so
there
crazy.
were pictures of me like hanging
In
out
the
in the
yearbook.
student center. Yeah. Yeah, and at pep rallies and shit like that. You could see me in the crowd, so it was like it was complete.
I mean, that's just, and I know people watching this right now are going to be so confused, because what Steve is describing is memories that he has while on a trip. He was tripping on salvia. So it wasn't quote unquote real. He was on this trip, but experienced 8 years worth of life over the course of 90 seconds on a salvia trip.
Yeah, and the only keepsakes that I have of it to prove to myself that it wasn't just a fever dream was I still play the ukulele like a
Yes.
motherfucker, and
Yes.
never had any ukulele lessons, and my atheism. And you don't come across atheism in 90 seconds, no matter
No.
what happens to you on the floor.
No, you sure don't.
Yeah.
And most people that have a near-death experience like that, it would bring them closer to their religion, most likely.
Yeah.
And for you, it had the exact opposite effect, which I mean, that to me is just crazy in and of itself. Do you remember like having dreams or anything while you were sleeping in this Tyler, Texas simulation?
Yeah, I would have dreams. I would have dreams about my family and stuff like that.
That is okay. So you were sleeping and dreaming in the Tyler, Texas simulation. That is so trippy to me, dude.
Dude, paying taxes in the Tyler simulation, going to a job at a fucking farm every day. Having a terrible job, not making hardly enough money, basically, sad, lonely all the time. Couldn't afford the good cable package. Just like couldn't afford my own car. So not only I went from killing it to basically some kind of what I really deserve. Maybe that's what I really am, is that, It's more akin to my street level fucking existence now, eating soup over a Bunsen burner in the back of a van someplace in the parking lot of a comedy club.
But isn't that the dream a little bit,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I love it, dude. But I mean, just the fact that you remember sleeping and dreaming in something that supposedly didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's just bananas to me, dude. And I can't stress enough how much of a mind fuck it is to be in your friend's basement, you hit a pipe, and the next thing you know, you're in a completely, different universe.
Yeah.
And you live there for 8 full years that you have memories of, that you have time to miss your wife, miss your kids, become an atheist. I mean, that is just that terrifies me, dude. I mean, one of the things that popped up in the comments a lot was never messing with salvia. Literally, after the first time I heard your story, I was just like, I'm so glad nothing like that ever happened to me, because I don't know if I could ever return to any sort of normal mental state after that. You know what I mean?
I never did it again. My army friend never took his turn, So if anything, it's a cautionary tale. I would do it again if somebody ever tells me that I've got like 6 months to live. I'm just gonna go buy a fucking 5-pound bucket of that shit and a giant bong, and I'm just gonna live 1,000 lifetimes. Now, I don't think it would maybe torture me as bad knowing that I was on a salvia trip because I
Yeah.
didn't. Part of it was thinking that I was crazy.
Well,
Not part of me was thinking that I was smoking synthetic marijuana, and that there's no way it should. A part of me thought I was dead or in a coma,
yeah.
or that was the hell of it. Now, if I would have known the whole time this is a salvia trip and it could last as long as it lasts, I would have done things completely differently, bro. I would have Grand Theft Auto that motherfucker. I would have
Well,
just showed up
okay.
at the
So
farm every day.
that's what I was thinking. Like, if you know for sure it's a
Yeah,
trip, right? If you know this is just the effects of salvia, then
yeah.
yeah, you could go do whatever you want. You could become the serial killer.
But is that what mall shooters are in our dimension? Are those people
Oh,
that just realize that that this isn't really where they live and they're just taking over
maybe
this lair
so.
for a while, dude? And they just
They just go
they go
haywire.
ham. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
there's so many like existential
yes,
like thought exercises that we could do on this.
yeah.
Wanted to say thank you to Laura Estrada for the super chat. She said yesterday pretty much had an out of body experience while listening to Steve's story. It went from funny to terrifying. Smoking a little ganja enhanced the whole listening experience. Thank you both. Thank you, Laura. And I did want to highlight your other comment here too. She said this seriously needs to be made into a sci-fi futuristic folklore horror movie or novel. Seriously, someone ghost write for Steve, please. This tale is too good not to embellish on the terror. I agree. I have been like, Steve, I think I asked you this question one of the times we hung out is why have you not written a memoir yet? I mean, obviously we know
Yeah,
why they didn't make the documentary about the whole serial killer thing because, they wanted rights to your story, but how have you not written a memoir on this yet?
yeah. I should. One idea was to write this and then have it um, illustrated by AI. That would be
Yeah,
interesting to see what AI does with it, and just make like a graphic novel of
that'd be
it
kind of cool.
in some way. Yeah, because a book is handy for what we do too, because you can sell them as merch.
Yeah.
They're
Hmm.
they're a perfectly acceptable piece of merch. Cruise ships, any place.
Yep.
You want to sell books, people still read.
That's a great little merch item to have along with some t-shirts and beer koozies,
Yep.
all kinds of stuff.
Um, Media Magazine, when Stephen Pollard wrote that book, How to Change Your Mind or Changing Your Mind or whatever, he had me write for the story for Media Magazine, and they put it in that magazine. So that's the only time that I've ever written for it, was when that book was coming out, and it was part of their I think they were just, it was part of the big build up media
Hmm.
wise to his book release. But
Oh, interesting. Well, that's I didn't even know that you'd written that article. So now I'm gonna have to go
yeah,
look that. What's the name of the article? Do you remember? So people can look
I
it
don't
up.
remember, but it's in a good magazine, Media. It'll be online.
Okay. All right. We'll definitely plug that towards the end if people want to go read more about your story. I thought this was kind of interesting here. So Tiffany went to college at SFA near Tyler, Texas. Nothing like what you described. Which you went back. You actually went and visited Tyler, Texas, in our current reality to
Nothing
verify
like
some of
it.
this stuff that you experienced on the trip. And just like Tiffany's saying, nothing like what you experienced
No,
during the 8-year trip.
yeah, Tyler didn't have a McDonald's. The one that I was at, it was so small it didn't have a
it
McDonald's.
was just it was just all apple orchards, apparently.
Apple orchards and women in gingham dresses and
Uh-huh.
dogs running
Uh,
around with no leashes.
honestly, the way that it sounds to me, Steve, it sounds like kind of like a combination of like some of the Mormon let's call them ranches out
Yeah,
in southern Utah, maybe a little bit. Maybe like a little bit of FLDS, fundamental Mormon or fundamental Latter-day Saints type vibes
you know,
that you were experiencing on this trip.
what's interesting is the Tyler was about the size of the little town that I grew up in, Smithfield.
Really?
So, and I think maybe my brain chose a blank spot on the map, a place that I knew nothing about. I knew it existed, but I didn't know one thing about Tyler, Texas. And it just superimposed Smithfield, Utah, and added apple orchards. you
Huh.
know, randomly. So who the fuck knows, bro? Whether
It's
that place
possible.
really existed, whether it was created just for me.
Or you actually did transport to an alternate universe, and in this alternate universe, that's just what Tyler, Texas is.
Yeah.
You,
And now I'm in a third iteration of my life where I'm poor and, you know, not married. My kids are all grown now, so it's just, you know, it's just me.
maybe you're tripping right now, and
Yes,
we're doing this podcast.
dude.
Who
What's
knows?
what's more likely? The fact that I work in the agricultural field,
Mhm.
you know, managing migrant labor, or I'm a stand-up comedian being interviewed on essentially a TV show right now. Which of those two things seems more
It's
likely?
so true.
It fucks with my
It's so
head
true.
every time I get too high.
Question from Candace here. Steve, do you still have a relationship with your kids? Did they go with your wife to Ohio after divorce? What's going on there?
The kids all rallied around me, and the two oldest stayed in Hawaii with me and finished school there. And then the two youngest, once they got of age, basically came to live with me. So now she doesn't have hardly anything to do with them, and they all live in and around the Houston area with me. I see them all the
Really?
time. They come to
That's
my
awesome.
comedy shows. I have one son that lives in Boise, and I fly up there and see him all the time and bring him down here. But yeah, still very close to the kids, in spite of all this crazy shit. And that just shows you how crazy their mother is. Because if I look like the same parenting choice, that'll tell you. You know, I actually was able to find rock bottom when she left, and was able to use it as a moment to learn and to grow and stuff like that. And I don't
Right?
know that she got that benefit. And so I was able to learn a lot of things from my divorce that maybe she just hasn't. You know, though I never did salvia again when I was in Hawaii, the magic mushrooms grew naturally
Mm-hmm.
out of the cow shit on the North Shore.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go up there on my boat and just, you know, creep on shore, eat a belly full of raw, undried magic mushrooms right out of the dried cow shit, and just go back onto the boat and just anchor out there and watch the universe throb and give my divorce a good healthy think, you know. And there's some
Just
healthy
having a
stuff with that.
time.
Yeah, eat so many mushrooms you can't hold anymore.
Right? Um, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit about just other salvia experiences that you're familiar with, because I think we talked about it a little bit, Steve. Like I had done salvia, you know, when I was in my early 20s,
Yeah,
right? My experience was did it, didn't, you know, do nearly the amount you did, I don't think. And I'd also experimented with other things at this point in my life. You know, I probably tripped for maybe a total of 3 minutes, maybe a total of 3 minutes, but it felt like 3 or 4 hours that I was out.
yeah,
Everything just seemed very slowed down. I tried to jump over a balcony at one point, and my friends kind of had to be like, no, 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 don't do that. You know,
yeah,
I had some conversations, and nothing felt real. Everything felt like I'm in the wrong body. My friends are in the wrong body. I remember one of my buddies did it like he and I like kind of hit it at the same time. And at one point he was trying to prove that nothing we were experiencing was real by doing cartwheels through my buddy's apartment, which was just so bizarre. And he had just gotten a new big screen TV, and he was just concerned that my friend was going to destroy the big screen TV. But even after the 3 minutes and I wasn't tripping anymore, when
yeah.
I came back, I still felt like I'm in the wrong body, and looking around at my friends, they didn't seem like they were in the right body either. So it was just this very surreal experience. It wasn't euphoric at all. There was no euphoria to it.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
felt like I was stuck in a time loop or something strange like that. I didn't like it. That was the only time I ever did it, and never did it again.
Here's the thing, Davey. There's definitely something going on.
Mhm.
There's something going on with the fucking universe. And I have tried everything to try to find out what it is. I don't know what, and I'm no closer for decades of trying to figure out what it is. But I don't know what it is, but it's not this.
Yeah.
They're like what, when you take tons of mushrooms, you can look up in the sky and you see like big projectors. Almost everybody sees that. Big projectors projecting all of this,
Uh-huh.
And it seems odd to me that there's like one thing you can eat. It's like the Garden of Eden story. Of all of the trees of the garden, you can freely eat,
Uh-huh.
except this one. Don't eat this
Mm-hmm.
one, because if you eat this one, you have the knowledge of good and evil, which means that you'll be able to see as the gods, knowing good
Right.
from evil. So that means you'll be able to see the fucking projectors in the sky. Don't take this one because it fucks up the trip. So eat all these other trees. You can have all you want, anything, but just don't eat this one because you can see the strings on the puppets if you eat this one.
I had like kind of a similar experience on DMT too.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand. I know a lot of this stuff is used very therapeutically now. But this was years ago when no one really knew what was going on with this stuff. And oh my God, that was awful. That was awful. And it's weird. Like I can't even really remember what it was like, but I remember the feeling that I had. And it was not a fun time for me. I think I probably just wasn't in the right headspace. And by the way, not recommending to do any of this stuff. Consult your physician before you do anything. Yeah, because you can. I mean, you and I probably both know people, Steve, that have gone off on trips and just never came back. Never were quite the same.
I was never quite the same.
Yeah.
You didn't take enough if you're the same afterwards.
Yeah.
You go into this to change.
Yeah.
A little bit. You go into it, and that's the reason why like shamans have used this for hundreds of thousands of years. People have been taking some sort of a mind-altering thing where they get abducted by aliens. Hundreds of thousands of years. Way longer than people have been doing talk therapy or any of that shit. So this was the Prozac of most of our evolutionary history.
Plant-based medicine's been around for thousands of years, dude.
We used to take clubs and go into a ditch and beat everybody in one village's head to a pink mist, and then come out of there and take a bunch of drink a bunch of tree sap and sit in front of the fire
and honor their souls.
Yeah, and just shake that off like it didn't even happen. They got baby brains in your beard, and we used to be able to shake that off. Now you go do a tenth of that, a 1/100th of that in Iraq. And
I hit a squirrel in my car, and I got to go to therapy for a year.
Yeah, yeah.
You get one little dog eaten by a bear, and all of a sudden, everyone's freaking out.
Human beings used to be capable of horrific shit.
That's so true.
And the way that we would fix ourselves afterwards were these things.
Yeah. No, you're
a whole bunch of
100% right. Laura, I'm sorry. I missed this super chat. Thank you again so much. I don't know what this is in reference to, but yes, my mind is fully blown. I just want to level set on that. The first time I heard Steve's story, I didn't believe it. I was just like, there's no way this guy is for real. But then I was able to verify some of his story, and I was like, oh no, this guy is definitely for real. And having my own experiences with, mind-altering substances, I know the salvia part could be real. And the crazy thing to me is, Steve, like either you've told your story so many times that you've got it memorized, or it really happened and these are true memories that you're relaying to us, which I believe the latter.
Hey, if I made it up in 90 seconds, because I told this whole story to my ex-wife in the shower, prairie dog and a shit between my cheeks. So, like, if in some ways that would be the most miraculous of all things. Like, if it turns out that I made this up in 90 seconds,
dude, it's I think like part of my favorite story is you coming out of your trip and tell your wife, I was gone for 8 years. I didn't think you were real. There's no God. By the way, there's no God. Just
And
cracks me up.
she was fine with that, by the way.
Oh,
That didn't trip her up at all. She's like, I got you on the
cool.
God thing.
Great.
Yeah,
I just
I got
did
a
this to get out of my
yeah,
Eskimo village. That's all I
yeah.
want. I just wanted out of there.
I got some brochures about Hawaii I want to show you if you're looking for a clean start.
Was it her idea to go to Hawaii or yours?
I don't remember.
Mm,
We
interesting.
had we honeymooned there, and we would visit there 2 or 3 times a year, because when you live in Alaska, it's just the next state over. It's a pretty fast flight to just
Mm,
come down, you know, to
well,
the center of the Pacific Ocean, the center
that's
of the
that's
of the
interesting.
largest island on the planet. It's the most remote island chain on the planet.
Yeah. But you and I here in Texas right now, I mean, what is it, like a 10-hour flight, 12-hour flight, something crazy like that?
Something like that.
But from
30 days
Alaska
by sailboat. Yeah, from Alaska, it's like 5 or 6 hours to go from Anchorage to Honolulu.
to Honolulu.
It's one
Wait,
ambient away.
did you just say you sailed
I
from?
didn't sail, no,
Oh, okay.
but I lived among people that came, because I was at a yacht club, so you would just be there, and people would drift in from all over the fuck.
Yeah.
You know, people that have been at sea for like 2 months, and they
Yeah.
haven't seen another human face, and they're just hungry to talk, and
Yeah.
so they just come and lose money at poker just to have another human being to talk about and tell
Just
them
to
about
talk
some
to
crazy.
somebody.
Yeah, just gotta talk to somebody and have a salad. That's what they were all. They all. Hey, where can
Unreal,
I order a
dude.
salad from at this time of day?
I just like the whole thing is just so crazy, man. One of the things that I thought was like kind of humorous about you deciding to go to Hawaii after this was all over is that Hawaii is a very Mormon place. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of Mormons in Hawaii. I mean,
yeah.
what is it? Hawaii University, full of
BYU Hawaii.
Mormons.
Yep.
Don't
The
they
whole
have like
North
a
Shore.
extension of BYU in Hawaii as well?
Yep. Yeah, those were Mormon cows that we would eat because they had the church owns a ranch up there around the Mormon temple. They own all this prime beach material, and this is for cows. Then they have this. They basically make Wagyu beef for and ship it back to Japan, and they don't give any of the cows any of the antibiotics. It usually kills the spores for the mushrooms. So if you just got regular dairy cows, they give them a broadband, fungicide or whatever as part
Yeah,
of their food, and it kills
yeah.
all of the mushroom spores, but not on all natural farms. And I knew that because my family were ranchers. And so we would just go up there and eat the churches. I would walk around with a dog leash pretending that I lost my dog, but I like knew all the Mormon handshakes. If anybody would have said dick to me, I could have totally bullshitted my way through any conversation you want to have.
Yeah, you're just a regular bishop, just chilling
Yeah.
in the cow fields.
Uh-huh.
No big
Yeah,
deal.
and I wouldn't collect the mushrooms. So there was some telltale bag of mushrooms. I would eat them as I go and just store them inside my body.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the dream, dude. And by the way, I love the North Shore of Hawaii. Haleiwa is probably
Yeah.
one of my favorite places in the world. I spent an extended amount of time there, accidentally. I was only supposed to be there for, a few days, ended up there for, a few weeks. Just, doing mind altering substances and surfing.
Dude,
It's
dude,
easy to get lost there, man.
I fell in love with a midget girl when I was there, and I just
I don't think
lost
you can
my
say the M word,
fucking
Steve. I think you have
mind
to
for it.
say little person,
I've earned it. I've earned
You've earned
it. A little a smaller person I fell in love with, but it was because I'm small, and so I'm so small I should be able to say midget,
You're not
really,
that
because
small. What are you, like 5'5",
I'm
5'6"?
like 7 inches from being able to say midget with a hard M. So I'm like 5'3", 5'4" in my stocking feet, and she
Yeah.
was like the as tall as you can be and still play on the midget softball team. So she was like,
Really?
I forget, like four.
Is it like
She
four,
made me
seven,
feel.
or 8 or something like that?
She made me feel like a basketball player.
Huge.
She
Well, wait, was
yes,
she did she have normal proportions? Did she have like the bowed
yes,
legs?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a hobbit or what that is, but it was like normal,
Okay.
like,
I think that's a dwarf, or I don't know.
but no sausage fingers.
Okay.
She was beautiful,
Didn't have all the
and
extra knuckles. Okay.
yeah,
These are all, yeah, that's great.
yeah. But I loved her. I loved her, and we would go up there and we would eat mushrooms, and then we would go back to Haliva in this one bar, and we would sing karaoke,
Oh,
and then
nice.
go back and sleep on the beach.
I've probably been to that bar. I've probably
There's probably only one up there. It's
yeah, I
like
probably
what
smoked
I'm thinking
crystal
about.
in that bar.
Yeah,
Yeah, most likely. So wait, why didn't you stay with her after your wife left you? Because I mean, you were
she
only in
didn't love
Hawaii
me.
for 6 months.
Yeah, she didn't love me. I
Oh,
dated the girl that um, that my wife and I. So there was a Peace Corps girl that my wife and I started dating right at the end, and
okay.
we basically got into like it was almost polygamous,
Like a little
and like
throuple situation. Going back to
had
your
a
Utah
serious throuple
roots.
position. Like she quit her job at the end of her assignment so that she could stay there and date us, and then that's the device that my wife used to scrape me off of her shoe like a dog shit. It was the Peace Corps girl, and then she left, and heartbroken, I just stayed with the Peace Corps girl and happily just switched, basically. Just switched wives. Like I just tried to make her into a wife, which she hated and balked
Oh,
at and broke up with me over and over again because she was a crazy Peace Corps chick that fucks the 40-year-old Mormon couple. She wasn't the chick that you know helps you figure out the 401ks and
yeah, no, she didn't want to live a normal life. That
uh-uh.
was never going to work.
She's a little too
I'm really
wild.
sad that you couldn't make it work with the little lady.
I try.
That would have been
I
perfect.
I text her still.
You
That's
still
the one
text
that
her?
got away. Yeah,
Does she text you back? Like, so y'all are still
yeah,
in touch? You're still in touch with the
yeah,
little lady?
yeah,
Is she still in Hawaii, Steve?
yeah. She is.
We need to take a trip to Hawaii.
No, I think she's got to listen. If there was a chance to make this work, I could have made it work. We
Oh,
tried. We
I
tried.
say we at least go
It's just the
back and
one. It's the one that got away.
let's just go do a forgetting Sarah Marshall thing, you know? Let's go out to Hawaii.
Knowing her, she probably has a boyfriend,
Oh, I'm
but
sure.
yeah, but
I'm sure she does.
she's a cute little thing.
Wow. It's just the whole your life is just a series of it just gets crazier and crazier and crazy. And I know even after you moved back to the States from Hawaii, you still had some just insane shit that happened to you, and we'll have to get
Yeah,
into more of it. I mean, we have to, because everyone's going to want to know, like, so how did it turn out? I mean, you're a stand-up comic now.
yep,
You're in Houston. You and I have done a couple shows together.
yep.
I'm actually going to be there next weekend on
No,
Saturday. I'm going
nice.
to be in
Oh,
Houston at your. Is that your home club? Do you consider the Riot your home club?
the secret group is more my home club. I
Okay.
like the Riot too. The secret group
Okay.
and the Riot are probably the places that I go to the most.
Yeah, so I'll be at the Riot right there in Houston. Super fun spot. I'll be doing a show at 11 p.m. on Saturday. Me and a buddy of mine are doing a show in Lake Jackson the night before.
Okay.
So if you're watching this and you're in Houston, come out either to Lake Jackson or to the Riot. Steve, you're gonna come through for that 11 p.m. show, right?
Yeah, I'll come over.
Yeah, so we can hang out a little bit. So I know there's probably more questions in the live chat. So y'all, if you want to get some last minute questions in for Steve, go ahead and send those through. I only had a couple more that were like kind of heavy on my mind. So you already answered that you never did salvia again, but did you ever have any other like similar experiences like what happened when you transported to Tyler, Texas for 8 years?
I mean, I've gone heavy enough with other, you know, mostly DMT and psilocybin,
Yeah.
and I've gone as heavy with that as a person can. I'm confident that I've scraped the barrel with that. I've so much so that I've definitely gotten like the multi, like this thing, like where you start to see this thing,
Oh God. Oh my God, dude. No.
so
Did you paint that?
no, No, but I knew what it was when I saw it. I was like, oh, that lives in my daughter's backyard by her swimming pool. So, and you can only see it when you've got a belly full of mushrooms.
Yeah.
But, so I go hard in the
Yeah.
paint with that kind of thing, just kind of looking for other doors because it's kind of like they're like
Yeah. Once
Easter
you've been
eggs
there,
in
it's
some
like
way. Once you see what your mind is capable of, you're like, what else? What? That's the only real way that anybody is moving the ball in the last couple 100,000 years as far as existential crises go. The
Mhm.
best we can still do after a couple 100,000 years is fill your belly full of ayahuasca and sit you out in the jungle with a guy beating a drum.
Mhm.
That still is the best
Well, I
medicine.
don't know, Steve. I mean, I've done some pretty interesting breathing exercises,
Yeah, yeah.
It's not
People
the
say you
same.
can get there holistically, and
Sure.
that you can, and that you holotropic breathing. And listen, when I was Mormon, I was still looking for the edges of reality, something to work my fingers underneath. So I used to go hard with um, um, self hypnosis and meditation, and just
Really.
moving that ball of light from your tips of your toes to the top of your head. And so you can get to some crazy places just with, but also 5 grams of mushrooms is like, why are you flapping your arms so
Jumpstart
hard?
yourself with that
Yeah,
one. Yeah. Yeah. That'll,
yeah,
that'll do it real quick.
yeah.
Real quick.
And those grasshopper things with the rows of eyes, those things are friendly. They're scary. That might be what we look like. That might be what they seem to watch us like it's a kind of television for them because they
Uh-huh.
know they knew all of my comedy bits. They talked about it with me. They were huge fans of everything I've ever done, and they're just like, don't mind us. We're just watching. Just go ahead and take your mushrooms, kind of thing.
Um, I liked this comment from Jack. How is this guy going live the same week I find his story and obsess over it? Jack, because it's a simulation. That's why.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
that's how this happens.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Uh-huh. Tiffany said that she kind of wants to try it, Salvia. Trying to talk her best friend and his girlfriend into trying it with me. Once again, we're not recommending anything.
No.
Talk to your doctor. In fact, if you tell anyone that we encourage you to try this, I'll flat out deny it.
By every
Yeah,
measure, it ruined my life.
that's a really good point, Steve.
You know,
Yeah, because
my
you were
life.
living a very happy life,
I was
making great
successful
money.
at this time of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I did that one thing on Christmas and fucked myself hard. Maybe for the rest. Maybe for the rest of it. I
Yeah,
mean,
potentially
stand-up's
forever.
fun, but it's a kind of torture.
Yeah. Moonwater Ranch believes you. Once got stuck in the time 10:11 p.m. for what felt like 10 hours on six grams of the mushies.
Yeah, time is time is an illusion.
It really is, dude. It absolutely. I mean,
That's the next step in video games.
I think once we figure out time travel, which I think is kind of what they're doing over there with the Large Hadron Collider, the particle accelerators over there in Europe.
Yeah,
I have a very strong feeling they're doing is they're figuring out how to create black holes so that they can then time travel, and that's what's gonna be the next big technological breakthrough. It's not about like flying cars or any of that. It's about how do we manipulate our reality in a repeatable way.
I think we have time machines now. I
Oh,
think
do
that
you
we
really?
have. I think that we have been basically back engineering alien craft that we have discovered. We've got our first, according to congressional testimony a couple weeks ago, we got our first downed alien craft in the 30s from the Vatican because Mussolini had it uncovered and the Romans had it.
Yeah.
So I think they have always been here. And I think those things, we're talking about power sources in there, if you can believe all that Bob Lazar stuff, which I do, there would be no reason that you couldn't be traveling in time. I think those things are from here. I think they're
Huh.
from here, and I think they're from the future. I think those are people going back to see what ancient Rome looked like, and going back to see what the first atomic detonation looks like, and then
Coming
somebody
back to see
shits
what
the.
Steve Cantwell's up to out in the Willy Wags with his bears and his dogs.
I'm here for it. Come get me.
You've
I've
never
had a
been
hell of a
abducted,
day.
have you, Steve?
No, not by aliens, just by
Okay.
just by Haitians.
Just by Haitians and safe robbers. Yeah, definitely got abducted a time or two by those guys. That I mean that would have just been the cherry on top if you had like a close encounter story. You
I
know,
know. I've always wanted to see a ghost or an alien or something, and I have tried, and nothing, man. I can't. I just. I'm not in the right place at the right time, or fucking something. Maybe some people can't see it, or
I've never had like one of those paranormal experiences either.
yeah,
But maybe we have, and it's just we're too used to our reality to really see it anymore. Because I feel like a lot of kids have that kind of stuff, like with their imaginary friends that they can
yeah,
see and talk to, and all this craziness, right? Who knows? Who knows, man? It's just all so crazy. That's why I love your story so much, because it blurs that line between reality, and I'm not even going to say like you know, I think it blurs the line between reality and the simulation, quite honestly. That's really
yeah,
what I think it's doing.
yeah,
You're just getting a peek behind the curtain. You're in that little weird submarine that Neo and the other Matrix guys were in. They just finally unplugged from the back of their head, you know?
yeah. If that can be imaginary, then this can be imaginary.
Bingo. We might all just be a dream in the mind of a sleeping giant.
This might be what we look like
Don't show your weird bug picture
all the
again.
time. That could be me. I'm probably standing there playing my character, and I break the third wall because I've had too many mushrooms. I start staring at myself, and he's like, "Don't look at me, bro. It creeps me out. Just go be a comedy. You gotta
Just
mic someplace
go
you can
tell
do it.
your butt jokes, please.
Yeah. You're fucking me up. I got a few minutes before I gotta be at work.
Oh, it's so funny, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on, telling more of your story, answering questions. This was great. I always love talking to you. I mean, every time we have a conversation, it feels like it's not real. I mean, even when we talk in person, like the last time that we were both over there at Rudyard's, I can't. Oh, you opened up a show for me at Rudyard's,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was before I got in trouble with the social media gods, and you know, we were selling out shows all over the place. But yeah, you came and opened up a show, and even that experience, dude, it was just like, this doesn't feel real. Every time I hang out with you, it's like, am I in reality right now, or is this just is this just all fake?
Thank you.
Thanks, I think. Are you dissing me, bro? But yeah, Steve and I will be I mean, Steve's in Houston all the time, but I'll be there next week. Lake Jackson on the 22nd, Houston on the 23rd, and then I'll be back in San Antonio January 5th and Austin on January 6th doing shows. You got any shows coming up that you want to plug, Steve?
If you're not doing anything on Christmas Eve, if you've had a fill of your family, come on down to Rudyard's at 8:00. I'll be doing a sad Santa Claus show.
Sad Santa Claus. Love it, dude. And they can find you on Instagram at the Steve Cantwell.
That's right.
Spelled just how it sounds and how it shows on the screen, as a matter of fact, as well. Yeah. So look Steve up, follow him, support him, share the story. Please like, comment, share this live stream and the original episode that we did. I mean, I feel like more people need to hear about these types of experiences so they can stop taking themselves so damn seriously, dude. Let's try to just kick back a little bit, y'all. Let's just enjoy whatever simulation we've created for ourselves. But Steve, I'll see you on the 23rd, dude. I can't wait. I'm really excited to go.
Good to see you.
We'll have some fun, dude. All right. Thank y'all so much for joining. We love you, and see you soon. Bye.